This program contains strong language and adult themes.
Oh, there they are. After Leigh's death, I came across lots of letters which she'd written to her children.
It shocked me to the core that a mother could write a letter like that to her daughter.
One day in 2015, I received a letter from the UK. On the front, it says, "Thinking of you." I opened it, and there was a picture of the phoenix. Like the phoenix, I will arise from the ashes, and sleep will obey me and visit thee never, for my eyes are upon thee forever and ever. I have served my life sentence of shame and blame. Now it's your turn to suffer the same. Your nemesis, Leigh Sabine. What the fuck? Who says that?
It really does make you think what was going on in her mind when she wrote these things. It seems it didn't take very much to incur her wrath. Anyone who crossed her was in danger.
Every homicide is unique, but in this case, it was absolutely bizarre. So we have an unidentified, freshly killed male body, may have been there for weeks, possibly months, who's died from a blow to the head. At this point in the investigation, Leigh Sabine is the prime suspect. Leigh had died 3 weeks before the body was found. She didn't fit the profile of a killer, but forensic examination of the packaging wrapped around the body found a piece of hair. It was a positive match for Leigh Sabine, linking her to the murder. Now, I had reasonable grounds to forensic examine her flat to see if there was any evidence of a violent attack to prove if the killer is Leigh Sabine.
I attended the scene to look for any forensics at all. Hair fibres, blood, fingerprints. We looked everywhere. Skirting boards, architrave, behind cupboards, the boiler in the kitchen. Even the DNA team looked under the floorboards for blood.
We knew the property had been steam cleaned and a lot of the furniture had been given away to neighbours and friends.
I had the Hoover. Rian had some jewellery. Another friend, she had a frog, which was a weight for a door. We cleaned the place up really well.
You've got to keep searching for that evidence. It is like finding a needle in a haystack.
After I was charged with assault on my mother, the shit hit the fan and my parents disappeared again.
Are you their mother? No, I'm not their mother, and I've answered that one before.
My mum says to Marty and I, we can't keep living like this. We're all going to the UK. We've got airfares, we've got all the tickets done. we'll drop you at this hotel and we'll pick you up at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And we're out of here. I thought, oh, we've still got a chance at a family here, you know. Next morning, I was all pumped. Let's go. Went out. Nothing. It's just no one there. And just waited and waited. And then I realised, once again, yep, they've gone. Yeah. Just smacked me around a bit. And then Jane told me Marty went to the UK with his girlfriend.
Martin was very much involved in helping them escape because he wanted the relationship to continue.
Oh, it's like someone stabbed you in the heart, really.
I think all of us felt that we were rejected again. We turned to drugs and alcohol just to waste ourselves, you know, so that we didn't have to think or feel.
I went right back to an abusive relationship and drug and alcohol abuse. There was no one and nowhere to turn to.
We've never been a family. We're just 5 people that have lived different lives, but got the same name.
Good thing is that you're living with your parents, not relying on foster parents or anything. Because they never really treated you the same as your own kids. It's just good to have your own parents.
When Martin went to the UK, I never heard from him again.
After 2 days, looking for hairs, fibres, blood and fingerprints, we found absolutely nothing.
And whilst it was disappointing to have no forensic evidence, the report opened up a number of theories in my mind. My first theory was steam cleaning had taken place, so DNA and fingerprints would have been destroyed. The second theory was, whilst we suspected the murder had taken place within that flat, it could have taken place somewhere else altogether.
Martin and I, we lived with Leigh and John. They had this really nice apartment in Reading. We had our own little space. Reading in the 80s, it was just like, wow. We were only young kids, but we loved it. There were pubs everywhere. Pub culture was huge. The cars, the little cars, the tiny streets. And then the bobbies on bicycles, you know. Martin was a great pool player. We'd go down to the local pub and he would thrash them all, the locals. And it was like, yeah, that's my man. Martin became a different man because he was happy and full of life when he come in and sitting around the dinner table and have a family to talk to. And they treated him like he was the only child, like this long-lost son that had come back and returned, and very spoiled. He enjoyed being with his parents, but again, there was that sadness that he didn't have his siblings. He felt he betrayed his sisters and his brother by going to England.
I couldn't believe he went. I know he wanted a mum and dad. We all did.
He was just such a softie. He just wanted that family situation. He wanted what everybody else has, but he had his blinders on. It just wasn't what he imagined.
As the investigation went on, something wasn't sitting right with me. This body had been recently killed, but Before it was found, Leigh Sabine was weak. She was dying of cancer. There was no way she'd have been able to commit such an act. I started to go back through the evidence, review it with the team, start looking at the body, looking at the wrappings, and that's where I noticed the Tesco carrier bag. Nothing unusual with a Tesco carrier bag, only this one had a barcode on it. And the date on that barcode was 1992, which was a significant time away from 2015. I understand that people hold on to carrier bags for a long time, but 20 years, I just thought that was really unlikely. So the body, when it was found, was wearing a pair of St. Michael's pyjamas. We spoke to Marks & Spencer, and what they told us was that those line of pyjamas were discontinued in the early 90s. Initially, we believed that this body is probably recent, yet everything else is telling me that this murder may have taken place some years ago.
Martin and I just settled into local life. Martin had formed a really close relationship with John. John would talk about how he missed sports days with his kids and his sons. So it was all happy families, except for Leigh. She was jealous of the relationship that Martin had with John. When I got home, she'd either be, loud and vivacious and happy. Other days she'd be like, really dark, moody, stroppy, short. And I think, what's wrong with her? She had too much to drink, or had they been fighting, her and John? John was very upset with not having his other children around him. But it was the opposite for Leigh. It's almost like she'd had children, but they were more pets, that she'd had and then discarded. She didn't have a motherly bone in her body.
As investigators, you think you're getting the story, and then more information will take you in a different direction. I went back to the pathologist just to run through some of the things that we were finding and some of the things that were troubling me a little bit. Could it be that the body could have been there a lot longer? And the pathologist said there were possibilities. One thing which he did speak about was the vacuum-packed theory. He explained if that body had been wrapped so tightly, on around and round and round, taped, sealed, bound, and if it had been bound with no air inside that packaging, that would have prevented any bacteria, prevented decomposition, kept the body really well preserved. It's almost far-fetched, isn't it? There was skin on the body, there was hair on the body, the organs were intact, there were no maggots. Right up until at this point in the investigation, I'm working on the basis this is a freshly killed male body, but this body had been dead for quite some time, far longer than we initially thought.
When I spoke to the undertaker said, I've got a theory, Lynn. She is proper vacuum packed, like a piece of meat. He said, I do think she's used something to suck the air out. Oh, I got the Hoover. It's just in the back of my car. I'm so glad it never went in my house, because that would have been a horrible thought to think I had brought that into my house.
All of a sudden we were looking at a murder that had occurred many years ago, when the prime suspect, Leigh Sabine, was not too frail, ill to have committed such an act.
After I found that Leigh was at the centre of things, I started to reflect on something she told me, which I hadn't really registered at the time. And it was that one of her sons had died. And what I found strange was it was almost like a throwaway remark. It didn't seem to be something which it bothered her a great deal.
We'd been living together for about 6 months. came home from work, and Martin said, "I've got to tell you something. Mum wants you to move out." And I said, "What?" And he said, Mum doesn't want you here anymore. And I said, "Oh my God. What am I going to tell Mum and Dad? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Like, what can I do? Like, what have I done? I haven't done anything." And he said, "Yeah, she's just gone off on one and she doesn't want you to be here. She wants you to move out." And I started crying. I just didn't know what to do. Martin was giving them what for, telling them what the f*** is going on, why were they doing it again, and why were we all the way over here in the UK for this to happen to him again. It was the first time that I'd ever really seen him that angry. He said, "If she goes, I go too, and you lose me." John was very emotional. He was saying, "But Leigh, you cannot do this. Like, why are you doing it?" She just said, "Because I can." I thought, what an evil bitch. Martin really saw his mother for what she was. In that moment, I felt Leigh would do anything to be in control again. I just remember packing my suitcase and off we went into the dead of night. I just didn't know what to do. Martin stood by me and he said, "I'll never go back." After that, Martin just went downhill. His whole life just revolved around drinking. He would get really dark. Our relationship spiraled down, and so we just ended up breaking up. He moved back to New Zealand.
And one day I get this phone call out of the blue that Marty passed away.
In 2000, Marty had been found deceased, and he had taken his own life.
I couldn't believe that Marty had I just never thought he would do that. He was just a fun, easygoing, gentle soul.
That really knocked me around for ages, because I felt like I'd let him down. Even though I did nothing to do with him for years, I felt like I'd let him down.
On the day of his funeral, I just cried and cried and cried, and I just couldn't believe it.
When he went back to the UK to see them and they shit on him again, I totally believe he never got over it. It might have been not the thing that drove him over the edge in the end, but man, it would have filled the cup, you know. We all can only take so much.
Martin phoned me a few days before he killed himself, and he'd often phone every now and then. He'd drunken dial. He called me by the nickname he used to call me, and I sort of said to him, "Oh, Martin," and I said, I said, "Stop it." I said, "You're drunk." He told me that he loved me and that he'd always love me, and then that was it. In my heart of hearts now, when I look back on that phone call, that last phone call, it was his goodbye, that he'd had enough. He'd actually had enough. So yeah, sorry.
I understand why he took his life. Not that I think it was right, but he felt it was right for him. He was tired of believing in people.
No one can hurt him where he is now, so it's good.
I could never forgive my parents for what happened to Marty. They destroyed a beautiful soul. After Marty had passed, I received a phone call, and it's my mother. And she said somebody had knocked on her door, and it was 2 policemen, and they had informed her that her son had died. I said yes, and I told her how he had died, and she said, "Oh, but why would he do that?" I was just speechless. It's like, what the fuck, lady? It's like, because of you.
Not long after my mother passed away, Mary West was cleaning out my mother's home and came across all these letters she had written to all us children. I just couldn't believe what she was saying in them. Just crazy talk. Jane's ones were bad. Jane was the ugly duckling. Marty's ones were bad, calling him gutless and soft, and when she had him he was weak.
The children were a burden to her. She didn't care about any of us. Everything was about her.
How could she write such horrible, nasty, mean, evil stuff? She had a whole life with no kids to do whatever she wanted to do, enjoy her life. I just don't know why she had so much hate.
Towards the end, she said to me, "You could write my life story for me." It didn't appear that she had a good upbringing herself. Leigh told me that she grew up in the Rhondda, which is a mining valley in South Wales. It was tough because literally there was no money. Leigh had been abandoned as a young child. Her mother had left her father when Leigh was about 3, and Leigh had been taken into care. It had been a painful time for her. She used to say that she'd been abused when she was in care. She didn't go into detail about it. It left her, as often happens with children like this, as though she was emotionally stunted. I felt she had never been taught how to be a mother. When she was about 15, she went to live with her aunt, and her aunt encouraged her to sing. Leigh's aunt modelled her appearance on the Singer Diana Durbin.
I wanted to look nice my first time out in Vienna.
Oh, well, it's very nice. Very, very pretty.
Bought her clothes, makeup, etc., so that she did echo Diana Durbin. That could have been when Leigh tried to build up this persona rather than live in the real world. She chose to fantasize about what she wanted her life to be.
There was no doubt that she was an absolute storyteller. The stories of her life were totally mythical. She wasn't actually Leigh Sabine from New Zealand. We found out her name was Anne Evans. She was a lady who was born in the Rhondda Valley in South Wales. She grew up in that area.
Can you believe she lived in the Rhondda? It's only up the road.
A Valley's girl. Good God, well, I wouldn't have. I mean, you obviously can tell by accent.
You would never have known that from her.
No, definitely not.
Her accent.
No.
No fucking way. Fuck off. We always thought she was from New Zealand. I would never in a million years thought that she was from the Valley.
And they say you can't take the Valley out of the girl from
You
the
can,
Valley.
obviously. Yeah.
Everything she said was untrue. Absolute lie. She just lived in a different world to everybody else.
I remember one day, out of the blue, my mother rang. She said, "Your father passed a couple of years ago." And I says, oh, how did he pass? And she said, oh, he had a lot of medical issues. I says, oh, that's really sad. She says, oh, I never truly loved him. I hung up. Why she even felt the need to tell me she never truly loved him, I don't know.
I remember Leigh and John had moved in.
Would have been about 97.
My father said, got new neighbours. I said, oh, that's nice. Have you met them? Yes, my father. And I said, what's the matter? He said, oh, I don't like her.
Something about her.
She's too in your face, so I don't like her. John was just quiet.
It's very quiet.
Sat in the background. He spoke, but she did most of the talking.
We did full proof of life inquiries for John Sabine. DVLA, National Health Service, passport inquiries.
John had only been living there a few months. 3-4 months at the most.
He wasn't there long, put it like that.
There was only a handful of times I would have ever had any interaction with him.
I'd never met John Sabine, but Leigh said that he'd left her because, darling, that's what Italian men do.
We were able to prove that on the 10th of February 1997, John and Leigh Sabine had moved into 57 Tremaculman Bay. Both of them had signed the tenancy agreement. A couple of months later, 9th of April 1997, he'd actually been physically seen by a doctor who recorded that meeting. But since April 1997, no one had ever seen or heard of John Sabine. I look back at the death certificate that Mary West had uncovered. It was for a John H. Sabine. He was a male who was born in 1929. However, looking at his documents, John Sabine, who was born on the 5th of August 1930. So you had the same name, John Sabine, both born in the London area, but the date of births were actually out by 1 year. So, with all the best intentions of Mary West, she'd had the death certificate of a different person.
After John had supposedly left her, when we went to visit my parents, as soon as you opened the door, this smell would hit you. It had to be coming from Leigh's flat. I'd say to my mum, what on earth is that smell? Oh, she's cooking curry. And I used to say, Mum, I cook curry. It doesn't smell like that. It was a putrid smell.
She put a load of hot puree, etc., to hide the smell.
It didn't work though.
Now we're focusing on John Sabine as potential victim, but we had no definitive proof that it was him. We needed the DNA from his children in order to establish identity.
I got a phone call from the police. They want a DNA sample so they can identify the body. And I said, good. And then they contacted me back and said, we don't need one off you, we got one off your brother. And then I says, but my brother's dead. No, you've got a half-brother over here. Excuse my language, but I thought, holy fuck, what else is going to come out of this?
We were starting to delve deeper into John Sabine, pulling his army records, and that's where we found out that he'd actually had 2 children from a previous marriage that were living in the UK.
I'm Chris Sabine, son of John Sabine from his first marriage. I was about 1 year old. My sister would have been about 2.5 when my father abandoned us.
Back in 2015, we were selling Christmas trees and the phone rang and I picked the phone up. This Welsh accent said, is Christopher John Sabine there?
They said, we want to come out and do a DNA test on you because we found a body. We think it's your father. If we can come over as soon as possible. I said, when's that? They said, oh, tomorrow morning. I thought, well, Saturday.
Sunday.
No, Saturday then. Yeah. And they said they'll be over by the morning. They were here at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
In the morning. They did the DNA test. Well, I was a bit stunned by it, really, because you thought, what's happened? My mother said when I was 1 or 2 years old, my father came back from the Korean War. He had shell shock. He was in hospital for a long period of time. and he got friendly with the nurse. Next thing you know, she got pregnant. At the time, John was 28 and Leigh was 17. When my mother found out, she decided that's it, best thing he can do is sling his hook, and told him to leave. One of the worst things in my life, I never grew up with a father. There's a lot to miss.
Officers went to see Chris, took a DNA sample kit which comprised of a mouth swab. We quickly fast-tracked them to the lab. I was very conscious this was someone who hadn't seen their father for many, many years. We weren't sure of the relationship. We weren't sure of the impact that match could have on Chris.
In the mid-80s, when I was round about the age of 32, we had this phone call to say, "This is your father, John Sabine. Would you like to meet me?" I said, "Yeah, certainly." I couldn't believe it. We met for over a year and everything was nice.
We went down every fortnight to Reading, and we always went out for dinner. We paid 1 week, they paid the following.
It was very strange because going all through my life, I haven't got a father. I all of a sudden got a father. I was really pleased to see him.
I think he wanted to have a family. Not so much be a dad, but have a family. As we got to know them both more, it appeared that she was definitely the one in control. John agreed with everything that she said. He would never stand up against her. He wouldn't argue with her.
She was a bit aggressive. One day I rung up to say, "I got my first child. You're a granddad now." And it's almost as if he couldn't speak to me. And that was it. Never saw him again.
Which was strange, because I thought John was very, very keen to have a grandchild.
I don't think Leigh at the time wanted him to have any relationship back with us. She was a very jealous person, and it was her way or no way.
So 2 days we received the results of the DNA test. DNA that we derived from Christopher had helped us positively identify the victim. It showed that it was actually his father, John Sabine.
I was horrified. I was sad. I was all these emotions. Couldn't believe it, but I could believe it. And I felt sorry for John. I thought, you poor man.
He wasn't perfect, but I felt sad for my father.
In the little time I know him, he always seemed placid to me. In New Zealand, when the press were going, he would be just about crying. You know, he was just, it was too much for him.
I want it left alone. Well, wait a minute. All you're trying to do is to break the family up. It's not a promise, right?
When I was told to leave that home, my father came running out with a parrot. It was a hanging parrot that sat on the swing. He had pulled that parrot off the swing and he gave it to me and told me he loved me. And I think that's where the softness I hold is there for him. I don't know if my mother knew about this parrot, but she would have hated that.
The theory was that John Sabine was killed by Leigh Sabine sometime in 1997, but there was no hard evidence. Confirming the identity of the body, it opened up a number of investigative options to me. One being the media, you know, appealing for witnesses. They formally named John Sabine as the victim, and that was the first time that his name had really gone out.
Welsh police have discovered the body of a man wrapped in plastic.
John Sabine was last seen 18 years ago.
They lived all over the UK. They kept no close friends, no close family members.
If you do know anything about this couple, please call them on 101.
The most interesting phone call was from a lady called Valerie Chalkley. She'd been friendly with the Sabines when they returned from Australia in 1984 and were living in Reading.
She was a strange person. She really was.
Valerie Chalkley Tells a story of how she lost touch with John and Leigh. For a number of years she didn't speak to them, and she says, I get a phone call out of the blue, and it's from Leigh Sabine, and she put the date around 1997. Valerie Chalkley just asked her, how are you, how's John?
She said, I've killed him. I said, but she said, yeah, I've killed him. I've battered him with a stone frog because he was getting on my nerves. And I thought, oh, she's having me on. She could come out with statements that were totally ridiculous. And you know when you feel a bit of a fool and think, I feel a fool, and if I said, is that true? She'd say, of course it isn't, you know. Then she goes on to talk about other things. Changed the subject completely. She was a show woman, she really was. If she could have written a life story, this is what she would have done. This is how she would have wanted it. People talking about her, leaving an impression.
Listen to what she told me, I wasn't sure what to make of it.
This was so bizarre, this information. How credible was this? We weren't sure whether this was the missing piece of the puzzle, this is actually it, or whether it's a weird story. This ornamental frog that has been used potentially as a murder weapon to kill John, we have to trace it. How are we going to do that? It's been 18 years.
CID contacted me and asked me if I'd ever seen this frog, and I said, well, it used to be propping Leigh's bedroom door open.
I just tasked the officers to go back and speak to Leigh's neighbours.
We started doing some inquiries, and the very first place we go is to the resident downstairs who was arrested as a suspect.
That was a sensitive inquiry because Michelle James was quite upset over the fact that she'd been arrested in this case.
We asked her, is there any other boxes belonging to Leigh? She said, oh, I think there's a box on top of my fridge. And there he was.
Both our eyes lit up, you know, that might be it, like.
And what the pathologist was able to do was produce digital imagery. You could see where that frog had been driven into the skull. It was a perfect overlay. My theory is John Sabine had gone to bed, fallen asleep. You know, they may have had an argument earlier that night, and then she's grabbed that stone frog. She's attacked him with some significant blows to the head, which have ended his life.
It just didn't seem real. It's so far-fetched. 18 years no one missed him. You know, God.
Part of me thinks that my father was always feeling bad that he had left us again. I think she didn't want to hear it and hit him over the head to shut him up.
She just disposed of him like she did everybody else.
She got away with murder. She got away with so much in her life, you know. I can't forgive someone for that.
Our father loved her unconditionally. He had nobody else, so he stayed with her, and he paid a terrible price.
This is the ring that my father John had on him when they found the body. There's nothing much else. Nothing. Nothing at all. No photos, no nothing. At his funeral, and there's nobody there. Literally nobody.
It was as if he was a ghost in the area that he lived. Nobody can ever recognise him. Nobody ever saw him. Nobody ever interacted with him. But I think that's exactly how she wanted it to be. It was coercive control.
A murder's been concealed for some 18 years, and Anne Sabine kept up the facade that John Sabine had left her, or was with another woman, or had indeed died.
It's almost like Leigh Sabine was thinking ahead and setting traps for people. The stone frog was actually sitting in Michelle's flat. Leigh's even told Michelle James this story around the medical skeleton. It's just really cruel when you think of what Michelle James went through.
The impact that the murder had on Michelle was quite appalling. If Leigh had come clean, she was dying, she couldn't have been brought to justice, but there would have been more a sense of natural justice if other people hadn't had to be implicated.
Mr. Sabine was never reported as a missing person, and the circumstances of where his body was concealed is part of the ongoing investigation.
Going into that flat, I can't recall seeing a big freezer. I can't recall seeing an attic door. There probably was.
Was that body in the loft?
I think it was under the divan bed.
Under the bed? No way.
The only other possible place it could have been kept was in the garden, and whether it was in the garden shed.
The only feasible place that it could have been stored was there was one sort of store cupboard where the meter was kept. It would have had to be somewhere where she could, have access to the body and continually wrap it over a period of time, to prevent the smells and to prevent any decomposition.
I absolutely felt that she had duped us. She had this secret all along and was hiding it from us.
You don't think to have a murder in the midst, but obviously it was one right on our doorstep.
I felt angry with her afterwards because she was an outsider who'd been accepted and she mocked that.
She boasted that after I die I will be famous, and we laughed it off.
She played a damn good part. An Oscar should have been awarded.
She wasn't an actor, she was a liar.
I do think she was evil, and those children suffered because of her.
I couldn't leave her with all the glory of committing the perfect murder, because this story is not just about a murder, it's about our lives. I spent the majority of my life trying to figure out why our parents might have left and the reality of what they did to us.
All my life, all I've wanted to do is be part of a family. Good, bad, or otherwise. I just wanted to belong to something. And all my life I never thought I did. Last time I seen Leanne was about 3 or 4 years ago. Jane, the same time.
Apparently.
I always wonder what our family would have been like if we'd stayed together.
Did you guys know our mother was abandoned when she was younger?
Yep, she told Marty and I. Don't feel 1 ounce of pity or sorrow or anything for her. Sorry, I don't.
Why go and have 5 children and leave them when you know that pain? You know that pain of desertion, and yet she went and did it to us. But regardless of what my mother did, we're breaking the cycle. I could never imagine putting my kids through what I went through.
My mother had a choice. Everyone's got to make a choice. Could have kept going in the same route I was. I'd either been in jail for the rest of my life, or I would have been dead.
I knew that the only way out for me was if I had a child to love and look after that would save me. When you have a baby, the love is instant. It's like the most amazing, beautiful thing in the world. My kids were the best thing that happened in my life.
Yeah.
We've all come from a horrible place and done some amazing things in our lives. You know, owned my own home, got children, got a lovely wife, you know. And I do love my wife. She wonders sometimes.
I'm actually really proud of the kids we've turned out to be. We're good kids. We have hearts, unlike her.